There are a lot of ops and stunts being pulled by MAGA this election cycle. We cover them all and we try to expose them to the best of our ability just to allow you to know what's going on. So, for example, they recently posted this image and said, look, Governor Walz' family supports Donald Trump. These aren't even like close relatives of Governor Walz. They're like, if anything, the most distant of distant cousins. But there's even one that's more serious right now that I want to highlight here and go back. I'd show and expose all of these stunts that Donald Trump's doing. But this one where kind of MAGA and Fox and all the right-wing propaganda machine is saying that in Aurora, Colorado, a Venezuelan gang has taken over the entire city and they've locked themselves in a compound in the Lowry apartments in Aurora where they're held up in these police standoffs and they are controlling everything and running a criminal enterprise by taking over this apartment complex. Fox ran a story on it over and over again. This has been all over right-wing media. If you're on X still, which was previously Twitter, this thing gets spread. And then Donald Trump echoes this type of message over and over again. So, for example, when he spoke in North Carolina on Friday, he talked about how immigrants are taking over swaths of America right now. And when he gets in, he's going to reconquer these areas and he's going to do an executive order that declares this land America's again and takes it back from the cartels and the gangs. Here's what Donald Trump said. Play it.
But as soon as I'm back in the White House, the conquest will end and the great liberation of America will begin. And you're going to be the ones leading the pack. We will take back every single square inch of American territory, and that's been invaded by these migrant gangs. It's been taken over. I mean, real estate patches have been taken over, and this is just the beginning. You haven't seen anything yet because they're just sort of assimilating. And how about what they're doing to our schools? They're going into schools. They're beating the hell out of our other pupils. We're giving them chairs, and we're telling people that have been there, families that have had their children in that school, you can't go to that school anymore.
And here's Donald Trump talking about the executive order that no more cartels, he says. That's what's going to do it. He's going to do an executive order, he says. Here, play this clip.
Scourge, I will sign an executive order on my first day, making it the official policy of the U.S. government to completely eliminate the presence of drug cartels and foreign gangs in the United States. We're going to eliminate them.
I want to dig into this Aurora story with you. It's important because I'm going to show you what the local police chief is saying and saying that this is not what's happening at all. I'm going to show you what the residents of the apartment complex are saying, and they're saying this is all a lie. They held a press conference this past week. That's not to say there's zero crime, but what they're saying is that their landlord is exploiting them and trying to use Venezuelan gangs as a pretext to act as a slumlord. That's the allegation that the tenants are making. And the police chief is saying, meanwhile, that there isn't that this is just what's being presented on the news, isn't happening. And I'm just, again, reporting on what the residents basically have been saying. Now, what I want to show you over here is Governor Walz. And here he talks about how what Donald Trump's just trying to do is act like America's Mad Max, like that this is this dystopian, crime-ridden, everything's the worst. Here, play this clip.
This is going to be door-to-door, phone call to phone call. It's going to be engaging people who it is a deliberate effort by some people to make them believe that our political system is broken, to make them believe that things are pessimistic. My God, every time I hear Donald Trump give a speech, it's like the next screenplay for Mad Max or something. They're rooting against America. They do not believe in the exceptionalism of this country. They do not believe in the people who built this country. They simply want to complain about them. And by you coming here and talking neighbor to neighbor, that's what inspires people. My wife always talks about this. She said, I don't read the paper to see the movie reviews. I ask people that I know what they think about it. And they go, that's the same thing that's going on here. And I think all of you in this room, it's not hyperbole to say This election could very well hinge on this county here and this field office here and the folks that we get out. That is an awesome responsibility, but it's also an awesome opportunity.
So when you take a look at some of these MAGAs, by the way, the big MAGA surrogates for Donald Trump, like take a look over here. This is Caitlyn Jenner's manager right here. And here, her name is Sophia Hutchins, and you'll see her. It looks like she's in like a mansion compound in like the desert or something. And she's like, swinging a sledgehammer at Alexa. Here, play this clip.
And I'm not a big Amazon person myself, but I'm going to film a little video for you telling you how I really feel. Stay tuned. Take 2. Amazon's Alexa bye-bye election interference. I felt so strongly, I have to get a big sledgehammer. Let's see if I get it. Fuck you, Amazon.
Like, cause there's this like anger. It's like you appear to be at like a mansion compound doing quite well. By the way, the Log Cabin Republicans, and she's on the board of that, paid Melania like $274,000 to speak recently at an event in front of them. Okay, so they're paying Melania $274K. So let's take a look, though, right now at this Aurora complex. And let me show you what the police chief who was there recently said. And I'm going to show you the police chief says, what we're learning out here is that gang members have not taken over this complex. Here, play this clip.
Here at 12th and Dallas, got quite a few of our officers out here that are out here tonight again. I've been out here for several weeks, making contacts with our residents, reassuring them about the criminal activity that's happening here and how we're going to address it. We're out here, we want to reassure the people that live in this community that we are actively investigating criminal activity that's happening and listening to them to so that we can learn anything that we're missing. What are we missing, and actually find out what exactly is going on. We're out here because we care. I mean, nobody should be wearing this uniform if they don't care. And we want the residents and the people that live here to know that we care. We've been talking to the residents here and learning from them to find out what exactly is going on. And there's definitely a different picture. I'm not saying that there's not gang members that don't live in this community, but what we're learning out here is that gang members have not taken over this complex. We've really made an effort the last few days to just really ask the specific questions and the direct questions in terms of the gang activity and who's actually making sure that people aren't paying rent to gang leaders or gang members, that's not happening. And we've discovered here today and yesterday talking to so many residents that that's not the case. We've been talking about, and they've been sincere with us. We really believe that they are sincere with us. And we're standing out here, and I can tell you that gang members have not taken over this apartment complex.
Here's a video of some of the residents at this apartment complex right here, talking about what's going on. Play this clip.
I spent the past month trying to apply for an apartment, but I have not been able to get approved for a single apartment. I think it's because I'm Venezuelan. I think there's some racism going on there. What we want from the government is we want the government to help us get apartments. But I'm not asking the government for a handout. I'm not asking them to give us money for rent. We pay our rent. We make our own living. I just want them to help us help guarantee that we're able to get apartments.
Here is the types of messages that the people who live in this apartment complex are getting because of the disinformation that's being spread. You effing animals, I hope you know the Colorado veterans are building a militia with more firepower than you guys could ever imagine. You guys are animals, making statements like this over and over again. The Denver Post just did an editorial. Is a violent Venezuelan gang taking over Aurora? There is no conspiracy to cover up activity of the TDA gang in Colorado. Fact checked. Has Aurora been taken over by violent Venezuela gang? TDA? Of course not. Our editorial board writes. Kyle Clark, who's a great reporter in Denver, posted the following. At this point, tenants interviewed by the Colorado Sun say they are more scared of white supremacists and people with animosity towards immigrants than they were of any Venezuelan gang. And here is a video from Decoding Fox News. They do a very good job here, and they show here the types of stories that Fox has been running with this Venezuelan gangs overtaking the apartment complex. But the resident staged this press conference and told the local Fox affiliate that the management company was the problem, not the gangs. Here, play this clip.
Kamala's open borders insanity is wreaking more havoc. Officials in Aurora, Colorado are setting up a task force after terrifying video emerged of a vicious apartment invasion, allegedly by a dangerous migrant gang.
Developing this morning, we're hearing the people living inside of one of those chaotic apartments in Aurora where the alleged gang activity is taking place. Neighbors telling us gangs are not the problem. They say poor management is the problem.
Yeah, so this all comes after we've showed you this concerning video, that video that you just saw of what allegedly could be gangs going door to door there. Fox 31's Courtney Fromm, she's on it live in Aurora this morning. Now we're even hearing from the mayor who, is saying this is because of slumlords, not the gangs. So we're kind of hearing both sides of this.
Yeah, good morning to you both. And the neighbors who actually live in the Edge at Lowry Apartments, they actually had a rally yesterday to talk about all of this and say, hey, this is not what's going on. It's actually, this building is kind of a mess and the management company is not taking care of it. And they're asking specifically to talk to the mayor, Mayor Mike Kaufman, I should say, here in Aurora. And it sounds like the mayor is on board to chit chat about what's going on. Now, Mayor Mike Kaufman says there have been conversations of an emergency order to take over the complex, but he says that's a last resort. Now, those who live there, they tell us they have had no issues with gang activity, but say the real crime is the horrible living conditions they've been dealing with, like the mountains of trash, bed bugs, and even mice. And they say all of this happening without any help from the property management company. Now, the management company, CB's management, also oversaw the Nome Street complex that was shut down last month. Now, the city shut down Nome Street because of code violations, but the management company says that they couldn't go in there and actually deal with the code violations because it was overrun by a Venezuelan gang. So that's all, everybody kind of pointing the finger at each other. But that location, like I said, allegedly also had gang activity. Now, the mayor, though, he says all of these allegations are a potential crutch for the company to be using.
Here's another photo from the press conference as Christian Lopez says, tenants at Edge at Lowry Apartments in Aurora holding a press conference to debunk rumors that Venezuelan gangs are taking over the building and demanding better living. They're demanding better living conditions for their apartment. And here in a rare joint appearance, you have the mayor of Denver joined by the mayor of Aurora, saying that, if anything, that there's an isolated threat that's taking place, and it's very small risk compared to like other types of crimes that are taking place, and that Venezuelans are being unfairly maligned. Here, play this clip.
Mayor Johnson, what are Denver police telling you about the scope of the threat posed by this one criminal organization, TDA, versus all of the criminal organizations operating in the metro area?
It's very small, the threat from TDA in Denver. It's smaller than many other organized criminal networks that might have been here for decades, the ones like the Bloods or the Crips or others. And so we're monitoring it closely. We're going to make sure they don't get a foothold. Where we know we can intervene, we can. But Mayor Kaufman's really right. The risk on this is the folks most likely to be taken advantage of and abused by this are other newcomers, are Venezuelans who have arrived and are being bullied by these individuals and feel afraid to call the police or call the city. We want to make very clear, if you have the least bit of concern, call 311, call 911. We do not ask for your citizenship or your status. You're at no risk of adverse action.
We want to work to earn their trust, to have their confidence, to step forward and identify who the bad actors are.
So I think both sides are in for a new awakening. The folks that came here looking for the American dream will find it. Those folks who came here looking to cause chaos, I think will find that this is their worst nightmare, because we're not going to tolerate that in this city.
And here's just a photo of the resident saying, stop lying. There aren't any gangs here. And look, I want to show you that one incident because that's been used as one of these examples by Trump and MAGA to say, look what's going on. They're taking over these buildings. They're doing all of these things. And again, that's not to say that there's no crime. I mean, violent crime is down right now, significantly from when Trump was in office. But again, they want to create these MAGAs just this, again, Mad Max dystopian world where everybody's fearing and viewing America as Donald Trump would say here. Donald Trump says that crime is worse in America than the terrible nations, he says. Here, play this clip.
To me, the number one thing that I get spoken to by the people, and I meet so many people, is crime. I mean, they can't believe it. They can't walk out of their apartments and buy a loaf of bread without getting mugged or rapped or shot. You look at Chicago, it's like...
Well, there you have it, folks. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million. I wanted to make sure you got all the details and data there.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.